Here we're being asked to evaluate a limit. Whenever I see a limit problem, the first thing I do is just sort of go and look at what the limit is headed towards. So in this situation, we're being asked to find the limit as x heads to 0 of this function here. The first thing that I always quickly do if I can, especially when it's zeros, I just go ahead and plug that into the equation and see what would happen. And what we'll see real fast is, plugging 0 in everywhere here is going to get us 0 over 0. It's going to get us division by 0, which means what I call option 1, just plug it in, isn't going to work. And so from there, I look at option 2. And I look at option 2 because it's got two sort of equations above each other that I'm trying to figure out what I can do to make better. And so anytime I've got kind of an equation over an equation, my method that I go to next is what I call factor and cancel. I look to factor out whatever I can from the top and the bottom, get things being multiplied, because once things are being multiplied, then anything that's the same, I can cancel out. So looking at the top right now and seeing what could I possibly pull out of the top, I can see that the numbers aren't going to let me pull anything out, but I've got x to the 5th here and an x to the 3rd there. And so that's going to let me pull out, I can pull an x to the 3rd out of both of those. Leaving me in the front here, I still have this 3, and then taking 3 out of that x to the 5th is going to leave me with x squared. On the back side, I now have plus, and then the 7 sticks around, but I took all of those x cubes to the front, so that leaves me with that term on top. Playing the same game on bottom, the 5 is going to stick inside there. I'm going to pull an x. I've got x to the 5th and x to the 3rd, so how convenient. I'm going to be able to pull an x to the 3rd out of the bottom as well, leaving me with a 5. And then I've got out of x to the 5th, I can pull out 3 of them, leaving me with an x squared. And on the back side here, I pulled out all of those x to the 3rds, and that's going to leave me with a minus 21. So there's the factor part of my factor and cancel. And now that these things are being multiplied, I am allowed to cancel any common terms. And so how convenient, like I said already, x to the 3rd cancels with x to the 3rd. And now I look to simplify this and say to myself, okay, what am I looking at now? Well, here's my new problem. And now all I do after I do a method is I go back to option 1. If you do something right with your limits, if you simplify them down, really everything's going to go back to option 1, which is saying plug in 0 for x. So I'm going to plug in 0 for all my x's. That's going to get me 3 times 0 squared plus 7 over 5 times 0 squared minus 21. And what I'll notice this time after I did that factor and cancel is, well, that whole term goes to 0. I'm left with still a 7 on top. And while that term goes to 0, I'm left with a negative 21 on bottom. And then if I go to simplify that a little bit further, clean up, reduce my fraction, I can reduce this down to 1 over negative 3. Negative 1/3 is now the answer. And that I can see is sitting right there. So always try option 1, plug it in, and then from there go through your other limit options. And this one, as soon as I see something that's got a polynomial over a polynomial, I'm probably going to try to factor out if I can and see if I can cancel any like terms. Thanks for watching my video. If you liked it, please click that like button and subscribe. And also share it with your friends and anyone else you know who might be crying about an upcoming AP Calc test. You can find more videos from me, more sample AP Calc questions, and my complete AP Calc study guide over at my website, apcalcprep.com. Have a great one.